Hey friends, you are crafting with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we are kicking off the 12 Days of Cricut Christmas. So this is going to be so much fun. I am so excited for all of these projects. So I'm going to be posting a video every other day, and this is going to take us through the beginning of December, and it's going to get you all geared up and ready for all of the Christmas fun, and make sure that you use your machine. You're going to love this. We're going to be doing everything from gift wrap and gift tags to ornaments to t-shirts to snowflakes, to so many things, guys, and we're going to use so many different kinds of materials and machines. So today we're starting off with something easy. We're going to do vinyl mugs, and we're going to use our Cricut Joy. But this is a project you can use your Explore or your Maker to make these. It's super easy, lots of fun, and I need something to drink all this hot cocoa that I have planned, so I'm hoping that you will enjoy this craft too. So we're going to hop over to Cricut Design Space. I'll show you what we're doing, and then we'll hop over to the craft table and we'll put it all together. And make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and join me every other day for all the videos in this series. And if you like what I'm doing here today, guys, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we are going to make snowman mugs. So we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to use a couple different types of vinyl. We're going to use a patterned vinyl, we're going to use smart vinyl, and we're going to use our matte with just traditional vinyl. So I can show you all three of those. And I chose to do snowmen because I adore them. I also wanted something that I could show you how to personalize. So if you wanted to add your child's name or your name or whomever's to the mug, these are great for gifts. We are going to use them just to literally sip on hot chocolate the whole season long. And I bought some tall mugs, which I'll show you when we get over to the craft table. I bought them at Target. They were only $3, and then you can just personalize them for anything that you want. This is going to be really cute. Okay, so here's what we do. So if you go into images, and for me again using Snowman, I just searched Snowman, and there are tons of different choices. So the one that I chose just really spoke to me. I thought it was super fun. I liked that it had the scarf, and although I'm not using the other elements here, I just thought it was a really cute, easy face. And so I'm going to show you then how to take this snowman and modify it for what you want to do with it. So if you click on this snowman over in panels, it's going to show you, or in layers, it's going to show you that the nose is separate from the scarf and the gloves, and then the little ribbon on his hat, and then the face is actually connected to the hat, and the buttons are separate, and there's two outlines so that you can have, now this is how a cut's going to be if you're using it for paper. They give you all the layers, which is fantastic, so you can literally take off what you want. It's easier for you to assemble if you're using paper. So what we want to do is we're going to do vinyl on the mug, and so I don't want a lot of that stuff. So what we're going to do is just go over to the eye you see here, and we're going to eliminate the things that we don't want. So I don't want the background. I don't want the buttons. I do not need the gloves, but if you look here in gloves, it's connected to the scarf, and I would like to keep the scarf. So you select it, and then go into contour and just deselect. You click on both of those, you deselect the gloves. So see, now they've disappeared. Now if for some reason you decided you wanted the gloves back, if you click on that and you go back into contour, they're still there, but right now they're not going to cut. The next thing that I want to do is I want to change my ribbon. So if we see here, I'm going to change my ribbon to red. Now I'm actually going to use a pattern vinyl for this, but because I can't do the patterns or show the patterns within Cricut Design Space yet, I'm just going to use red, just use a solid color. So that way now they will cut at the same time. And if you're ever curious about this, like if you turn something a color and you're not sure that it's the same, if you go up into Color Sync, you can see that, oh wow, they are the same red, because even if it was the slightest shade different, it would have its own line item. Okay, so back into layers. The next thing that I want to do is I want to take my hat and I want to personalize it. So let's click off, and when I click onto, when I click onto the hat, it does pick up the mouth and the eyes, and I don't want to do anything with those two elements. So I find it easiest just to duplicate and then go into contour, and if you select hide all, everything is deselected, and you just want the hat. So you click the hat, and so now it's by itself. And so I like to work with it this way, and then I can replace that hat. I can literally go into contour when I have it selected by itself and eliminate the hat and keep the eyes and the mouth, and then just replace it. So next thing I'm going to do is I wanted to overlay a name onto my hat. So if you go into text, and everyone has their own preferences to, you know, what kind of fonts they like. The only suggestion I would give for you is to not get too skinny, not to get too thin on this project, because the snowman face, our mug is going to be roughly, let's see if we highlight it real quick, like 2.5 by 4, and that's because I have a really tall mug. And so if I went really small font here, it would be difficult for it to cut out and difficult for it to read. The Cricut can go really small, but I try not to, you know, test it if I don't need to. And so on this, what I want to do is if I go into text, I chose one called Jacoby Black. I actually thought it sounded a little bit like a snowman, but Jacoby Black is the font that I chose. It's kind of whimsical and fun, kind of kid-like, but it's still chunky. Okay, so then I'm going to type in a name, and then what I want to do is I'm going to reduce the size just a little bit by pulling at the corner, move it up, and overlay it on top of your hat. And I'm going to put it more towards the top of the hat because I'm going to have my ribbon on there. Okay, so now what I want to do is, I think that looks pretty good. Actually, I might make it, you know what I'm going to do? I don't want to make it smaller necessarily, but I would love for it to be a little shorter in length. So if you go into letter spacing, let's just eliminate the space between the letters a little bit. Maybe went too far. Let's go 6. So I can still see a space between the A and the L. Yeah, I like that. So now let's highlight both of them. You can either do it in panels or you can drag over top of the two, and then we're going to use the slice tool. It doesn't look like anything happened, but it actually did. So if you click on Alex and pull it away, and click on the next Alex and pull it away, so now you can actually see the grid through the center, and so we have cut it out or knocked it out of the hat. And so now what I can do is click on the hat here. And if you ever click on something like I just did and it clicked on the entire thing, if you go over into layers and just select the one item that you really want to work with, all the others will deselect. So now what I can do is go into contour, and I'm going to deselect the hat. So my face stayed where it was, and now I can just replace the hat. And you see my ribbon is behind, but if you go up into arrange and you're sending your hat to the back, okay, now I can sort of put it where I want it and just make sure that my name didn't get. So now I have the hats, the banner, or the little ribbon on the hat, eyes, nose, and scarf. And so if I make this larger, like I did with the other one, now you'll notice that I played around with this just a little bit too. I made the nose a smidge bigger and the scarf a little bit smaller. Okay, and so when I make multiples of things like this, if I've already tweaked it a little bit and made it, you know, more drawn out, then what I will do is literally just take my hat and I'll move it to the side, and I will remove the rest of this so that then I can duplicate this one. And so then they will be perfect, like perfectly the same. Okay, and so now all I have to do is click on the hat and delete it, and then move this hat into place and size it appropriately. So I like to do that just because I don't want anything to be, you know, I want them to be perfectly the same whenever I cut them out. Okay, so now what I want to do, now that everything's perfect, I want to attach a few things so that they cut out on the mat together. Eyes, mouths, small things like that. It's easier if you just cut them out exactly where they're supposed to be so you don't personally have to place them. If it was, you know, this scarf, I don't need it to attach to the ribbon. For one, the ribbon I'm going to layer, but for two, they're big enough items that I can kind of see where I want to place those. So with this in mind though, I want to select my eyes and my mouth for each one, and I want to keep them together. So now I have selected two things, and I am going to weld them. Okay, so now what we want to do is go up into Machine and we're going to select Cricut Joy because that's what we're using today. And then we can go ahead and save. It tells us our project is saved, and now we can go ahead and select Make It. Okay, so remember I told you we're going to use multiple types of materials. So we're going to use smart vinyl, and we're also going to use regular vinyl and pattern vinyl. So we need the mat for that. So with the smart vinyl, we are going to go without a mat. So what you want to do is you want to go over and select multiple ways, and then select Done. So when you get here, you're going to be able to choose which kind. So I have orange smart vinyl, so we're actually going to go without a mat for the orange. And then when we move down to the black, you see we have our two faces together and our hats, and I'm going to be using regular vinyl, so I need a mat. Okay, so there we go. So that shifted that around, and you know you can always click on these things and move them just to save on material. So for instance, if you wanted to move your faces even up like that, that would work. Okay, and so then the next thing that we want to do is look at our red. And so we have, I mean, again, you can, this is pattern vinyl that I'm going to be using here, but you could move that up sort of to save that small square. And we're going to be using a mat for that one. So, well, and just so you know, you see that it just did that. It shifts things around a little bit whenever you make changes to them. So make your changes first and then move your items if you want to save material. Okay, and so then we are ready to continue. So now just make sure that your Joy is plugged in and ready to go. Okay, so now whenever it gets to this page where we're setting up our base material, it's going to give us all the options that are most popular for Cricut Joy first. So we're going to see a lot of smart vinyl, and so what I'm going to do is take you into Browse All Materials. And so what we want to do is we want to scroll on down to vinyl, and then we want to look through and see what they have. And actually there is a ton that can be used with the Joy, so then you just need to look at your items. And because the premium vinyl is the same needle depth as the patterned vinyl, you're just going to select premium vinyl here. Okay, and then Done. And now we are ready to go over to the craft table and put on the first item for cut. Now, I just want to tell you though, whenever you go to each step, it's going to prompt you for your material. So just make sure that whenever you get to the orange, you change it to smart. And when you get to this one, you're going to be using the premium vinyl again there. Okay, let's go. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are the things that I'm going to be using today. So I have my Cricut Joy, I have my oversized mug, and I chose this one because candidly it's taller than most and I need plenty of room for my Cool Whip. And I have my paper trimmer, which I like to cut out all of my materials, keep everything straight and nice. I have a ruler, I have my Cricut Joy mat, and I have my Cricut Joy tools. So the other things that I have here are smart vinyl, so I'm going to do the nose in a smart vinyl, so I'll show you how to use that. And then I have a pattern vinyl and a just a regular premium vinyl that I'll be doing these on the Cricut Joy mat, which is what I'm going to use the cutter for. And then I also have transfer tape. So let's move everything out of the way and we'll go ahead and set up our first mat. Okay, so for my first cut, I need 3 by 4.5 inches, and I just so happen to have this little remnant piece of vinyl. And so what I want to do is I want to see if it's going to work for me. Let's see. I'm going to be in luck. I'm going to have, it's a little bit longer than I need it to be, but that's okay. I can, I'm going to cut off this one little piece with my paper trimmer because I do love to hang on to all the extra pieces. But then I'm just going to put it on the mat with a little overhang onto the edge, and that's going to be just fine. So basically we lay it corner to corner, and then I sometimes will use my scraping tool to just get any bubbles out. And you can do it with your hands if you don't have a scraping tool. But these 3 come in a kit together, and they are really essential. You use them for almost every project. Okay, so now that we have this on the mat and we can push these out of the way, I did want to show you guys that when you are doing a mug, and I have another video with flat-faced front mug, basically the mug's kind of square, and those are great, but most mugs aren't shaped like that, right? So you have a little bit of a curve. So I'm going to show you how to make sure that you get it on the curve. But my best recommendation is to not go too far into the curve. So when you use a ruler and you measure this, so for instance, on this one, I wouldn't go any wider than 2.5 inches because you'll get some curve, but not substantial. And if depending on your cut, it could get bubbles in it, you know, if the vinyl doesn't want to lay down, if you go any further. And then I would suggest, I mean, this mug from top to bottom is 5.5 inches, but I wouldn't make my design any bigger than 4. Okay, so we can move these out of the way for now. And what we want to do is go ahead and open up our Cricut. Lay our mat on, and it's going to pull the mat in. Okay, so now you just went over to your mobile device or your desktop and selected go. And when it finishes its cut, then you will go back to that device and select unload. Okay, so we'll just unload this mat, and then we're going to go through the same process and put black on our mat, and we will weed everything all at one time. The best way to get things off of a mat is to bend the mat and not the material. So just bend the mat. Whoops. Okay, so now we're going to set this aside and we will cut out our black and load it up. Okay, and so for our third cut, we're going to use smart vinyl. So you don't need a mat. And the machine literally just measured to make sure there was enough, because remember, we're cutting something very small this time. Now go over to your device and select go. And it's just that quick. Okay, so now we have all 3 of our pieces. On the smart vinyl, all you need to do is literally just cut it off of the length, and then you can just go ahead and store the rest of your material. And so then you have, okay, so you guys know, if you craft with me ever, you know how much I like to save remnants. Although you can't feed this back into the material as smart vinyl, you can place it on a mat. So I just suggest taking a pair of scissors and cutting away any excess so you don't waste, okay? So we're gonna save that piece for another time. I'm gonna do the same with this piece and just save that. I use these, especially the patterns, I use them for all kinds of things, like little things, okay? And then we'll do the same with the black. And now what we wanna do is weed these all out and get them ready for the transfer. Okay, so it's really, really simple to weed, and some things weed easier than others, but basically just using that weeding tool, and then you're pulling away all of that negative space or that extra. And it is really sticky, guys, so depending on what you're doing, make sure you hang on to it. Even though I didn't just then, but make sure you hang on to it, okay? Put that out. We'll set that aside, and then we'll do that for both of these colors as well. Okay, now we have all of our elements cut out and we have our transfer paper. The next thing we want to do is we want to measure our cup. And so our design is roughly a little over 2 inches by 4 inches. And when I'm thinking about putting these elements down, I want to start with my center point because there are so many different pieces. I'm going to put down my nose first. And so for 4 inches, and the nose, if you look at the gridded design in Cricut Design Space, you'll see that the nose is just below the midway point of the overall design. So if we look at this and we say, okay, 2 inches, and then we say 4, roughly the 2, we would want it to be somewhere right around here. So almost center with the handle of our cup. So we'll put this out of the way, and then we're going to take our transfer tape and we're going to put it on our nose and pick it up. Okay, so we'll peel that away, and then we will, I'm going to use my ruler to have something to press on. Okay. And I tell you guys, acrylic rulers are the best. There we go. So it just needed a little bit of help. And so then we will take this, and again, remember it's roughly the center of our handle. And here, okay, so here's one thing too. Some people like the mug to face them so they can see it, and other people like it to be on this side so other people are looking at your design when you're drinking. So that's totally up to you, but I am going to make it so we can see it. Okay, roughly center. Place it down, then use your fingers. And with a curved object, sometimes your fingers are better than the scraping tool just because you can get around the contour. Okay, and so now we can pull at an angle, always at an angle. There you go. So the first of a few steps. Okay, so next we're going to do the face because of course it flanks both sides of the nose and it's just easier to get it in place. And the mouth is going to go, whoops, and it is very sticky, guys. So sometimes if you have to kind of do it as a taco so that it doesn't stick until you get it placed, but the mouth is fairly close to the carrot nose. Okay, and so once you have it where you think it should be, go ahead and work it on with your fingers. And again, with vinyl, we will always pull from the corner and go slow to make sure that our design's stuck. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be, that honestly alone, just by itself would be so super cute, right? And then just putting the child's name down below. Okay, so let's move on. We will work on the hat. So we can do Alex's first. Okay, so now we got the hat on the transfer tape. I want to kind of put it at an angle. Work it on with your fingers. Pull at an angle. Oops, see, I didn't do that one on good enough. Okay, so now we have the scarf, and guys, it's premium vinyl just like the others, so it's going to work with the transfer tape just the same. We'll put it down at one edge, and because it's a little bit more on the curve, I like to go on one side and then work my way over. And then I'm going to use the scraping tool because I do see a little bubble right there, and so the scraping tool doesn't work as great on curved as it does on flat, but it will work. And sometimes you do have little bubbles. You just have to kind of work them out. And it could be that it's more in the transfer tape than in the vinyl. But let's start at one corner. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put that ribbon on the hat. And because it's so small, honestly, I'm just going to do it by hand. Kind of have to have a steady hand. Oh my goodness, how darling, guys, how darling did that turn out? I'm going to put the codes for this exact cut down in the description below in case you want to make this exact snowman mug. It's so cute. Okay, friends, so I hope you enjoyed making those mugs with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join me for all the other videos in this series, 12 Days of Cricut Christmas. I am posting links down below for all of the videos as we go, so you won't lose track of them if you start in the middle. And I hope that you will leave comments down below. If you have any questions whatsoever about what we did today, I want you to have fun crafting. I want you to enjoy it, so ask away. And I hope, again, you'll hit that subscribe button and join me every other day for the next video in the series. So we're starting it today and we'll wrap it up about first week of December. And it should get you going on all of those fun ideas that you have and get you using your machine. Okay, guys, see you next time.